Town Center Economic Development Committee was called to order at 6 p.m. on April 29th. Good evening, all. My name is James Michelle. I'm the chair of the committee. See, we have Robert Casquillo online, and I believe Ms. Riley is present as well. So we have a quorum to move forward with the meeting. Let me start by saying thank you to all of you who is here this evening to participate in what I call the great public input into this public meeting. Thank you for being here. We look forward to your input into our town center development plan. And as you all know, the town center has been a very sore spot for the entire town over the last 2 decades at least. And everybody in town is looking forward to an adjustment, changes to the redevelopment of the town center. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be there in person today because I'm traveling for work. So I'm in New Orleans. So I'm running this meeting from my hotel room. Lynn, please, can you please do the roll call?
Commissioner Michelle?
Present.
Commissioner Carrasquillo?
Present.
Commissioner Gooley? Absent. Commissioner Hudgen? Absent. Commissioner Riley?
Present.
Thank you very much. Let me remind everyone that this is a public hearing to get the public's input on the draft plan for the development of the town center. While we want and need all of you to your input, we need to do it in a very fair and open process to ensure everyone that wants to speak will get a chance to speak. We will follow the following guidelines. We will have 2 sessions. First session will be for questions. The second session will be for comments. And each person who speaks will have 3 minutes for each end of each session. And you could come up for each session as well. We will start with a reading of the public meeting notice by Lynn. Then I also will remind everyone there's a sign-up sheet. If you want to speak, make sure you sign up. When you come up, please state your name and your address. Again, I want to extend on behalf of the entire committee, thank you very much for coming out today. As you all know, public participation is where we get the best result in terms of developing a town center where we all could be very proud of. I look forward to your input, your comments. Thank you very much. We also have Don, who will be leading who will be answering your question. He's our consultant, and he also, like me, is remote. Thank you, Don, for being able to participate this evening, given the situation that you are in. So, Lynn, can you please read the meeting, the posting?
Notice of public hearing. The Bloomfield Town Center Economic Development Commission will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, April 29th, 2025 at 6 p.m. The in-person meeting location will be held at Bloomfield Town Hall, Council Chambers, 800 Bloomfield Ave, Bloomfield, Connecticut. Remote attendees can join and participate in the meeting via the Zoom meeting platform. The meeting will also be live streamed to YouTube. The purpose of this public hearing is to solicit public input on the Town Center Draft Master Plan and Connecticut General Statute Chapter 132 Municipal Development Project and Plan. A copy of the Town Center Draft Master Plan is available in the Town Center's office for public inspection, as well as at bloomfieldct.gov/TCEDC. Dated at Bloomfield, Connecticut, 8th day of April, 2025.
Thank you very much, Lynn. We're going to start with an overview, a high overview of the plan from our consulting. Don?
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity. So for the record, my name is Don Poland. I am the Managing Director of Planning and Strategy for Gilman York. And we have been the consultants working with the Town Center Economic Development Commission and the community on the development of this plan. I'm going to share my screen and give a very brief overview uh, of the plan that has been developed for the town center. Just bear with me for a moment as I organize my screens. So over the past few months, I've given quite a few presentations on this plan and both a large public participation meeting about a month and a half ago, and also with the Town Center Economic Development Commission. So tonight is just a very high level, 30,000 foot summary of the plan itself. So this slide provides a map that we've been showing for many months now of the entire town center as described in this plan. And it actually matches with the town's existing TIF district plan for the town center. To give some points of reference, we have the railroad track along the east side of the district, providing the primary boundary. There is one property on Wintonberry Ave that's on the other side of the track. Geisler's is located here to the north. Ocean State is here to the west, as we see there. Heirloom Flats is here to the south, and it extends down to Gab Road at that location. This next map is the key focus area of this plan. This plan creates both a strategy for the town center overall, an economic development strategy that focuses on investments in the public realm, and then also includes what's known as a Chapter 132 municipal development plan. That is a Connecticut General Statute reference, Chapter 132, and it is a very specific planning process that gives the Town Center Economic Development Commission also the development authority for the town of Bloomfield. A lot of authorities related to both property acquisition and then also the financing and management of a development project. So this boundary is essentially Wintonberry Road to the north, the railroad track to the east, and then bounding by Seneca here, and then Jerome Avenue down to Park Avenue as the southern boundary. And it includes the town green as part of the study area. This map here is an early conceptualization, essentially our first step at trying to work with the community and work through ideas for the redevelopment of this site. Essentially, the site containing the Wintonberry Mall has been deemed or recognized as functionally obsolescent. I think that's something we've heard throughout this process from the public. It's something that also our research and data revealed, and therefore trying to figure out how this site could potentially be redeveloped along with other sites adjacent to it. So this was our first attempt that created some important themes, the importance of the town green as a focal point, an entertainment area, or kind of a restaurant hospitality area that interacts with the town green and maybe an expanded town green. The a focal point called here the district, which would be around commercial, primarily retail, service, and office uses. An area for residential apartments up in the northeast corner here called the Depot Block, and then additional apartments down here along Park Avenue. This is not what the final plan looks like today. It's evolved very much so from this. Here we have the final rendering of a conceptual redevelopment for the site. Once again, we have an expanded town green. The plan also calls for the closing of Wintonberry Avenue, which will be a big improvement to traffic in this area, since currently it's a 5-directional intersection, which will now become just a 4-directional intersection. It allows for the expansion of the town green, both to the north area in Wintonberry. This is also conceptualized with the expansion of the town green into the now Wintonberry site. Here, fronting onto the town green in kind of an amphitheater pavilion area are commercial retail structures that are conceptualized for restaurant uses that would interact with the green and public space. Set behind that and along Wintonberry Ave is additional commercial retail structures. Fronting on Park Avenue, we have some townhouse residential units and additional commercial structures in this area getting over near Jerome Ave. Jerome Ave is conceptualized as actually being reorientated rather than running straight through to the north and exiting near where the railroad tracks are. It would be turned or curved to the northwest and ultimately exiting across from the Catholic Church approximately. And this allows for the construction of additional apartments in the northeast corner of the site, also with a parking structure, a one-story, simply a deck parking structure to help service the parking needs for that development. All of this is conceptual. Don't read this as this is cast in stone. This is exactly what it will look like. It's a testing of what could be done. It's a, representation of uses and where they may be best orientated, but ultimately a lengthy and comprehensive process. If the town were to acquire these sites, the town would go through an RFP process to work with a developer to develop something ultimately in the spirit of this plan. As part of the greater town center, moving away from just that chapter 132 Wintonberry Town Green area, we also looked at the overall town center area and possible improvements. This page here, which is also represented in the plan itself, provides an overview of many of the public infrastructure improvements, things like improving pedestrian corridors, improving the availability of public and on-street parking, possibly the interconnection of parking lots interior to blocks to better facilitate parking and movement. Also things like new bus shelters to encourage both transit use and also pedestrian activity within the center. And that was actually, my apologies, this diagram here stems back to the TIF plan that was done around 2020. We further enhanced that. We essentially used those recommendations that were made then, some of which are already being implemented now, and refocused it around this conceptual new development in the center there. So this is kind of version 2.0, which is represented in the plan. To meet the requirements of the Chapter 132 plan, we also had to consider the phasing of this project, which also entails making sure that the current tenants of the redevelopment area are adequately accommodated, either in relocation or being maintained within the redevelopment area. Therefore, contained within the Chapter 132 plan is a phasing plan for how this could occur. And the phasing plan was ultimately designed around the idea of how the current tenants of this area could be maintained in this area that businesses could stay open through the construction period, as construction is phased throughout it, and tenants are relocated as needed until their final location. The last thing, and probably the most important thing at the end of the day, was coming up with a budget. Goldman York spent a lot of time doing real estate market analysis, financial feasibility, evaluating the costs of acquisition, evaluating costs of construction for the private development, cost of construction for public infrastructure upgrades and improvements, and ultimately came up with a number of budgets. This is just one of many that appear within the report, assuming different scenarios. And this one is kind of the largest scale of development, assuming that the apartment block would be 5 stories with the largest number of units and approximately 65,000 square feet in commercial space, along with all of those public infrastructure improvements contained within that area, the expansion of the green, the parking, and so forth. In this budget, it assumes that public participation covers the acquisition costs and the site infrastructure. No assumptions are made at this point in time as to where that funding will come from. We assume it will be a mixture of state and local funds. And that's represented here in the subsidy assumptions. And then developers' costs or the development costs, and then the returns. So you essentially have approximately $85 million in private investments and approximately $29 million in public investments. Ultimately, I want to turn it back to the chair because the committee wants to hear from you, the public, and I will be here with the chair available to answer questions as needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Goldman York has been a very trusted partner of ours, and they've been a partner for Bloomfield for many years now. But we've been very lucky to have them working with us as we go through this process. So we look forward to their very able counsel as we move forward. Thank you all very much. Again, as I said earlier, this plan will be perfect only after everyone has had an opportunity to give us their input. So we live in Bloomfield, and we want to have a very nice, well-developed town center. That can only happen if everyone give us their input, and then only then will we have a plan that will reflect the community that we all live and love in. So thank you very much for your participation. Lynn, can we start with the first person on the sign-up list? And again, we're going to start with the questions first. You have 3 minutes.
So the first question is Pastor Sean Fisher.
Right here. First of all, thank you very much for the work that you all have put in. Reviewing the document, it is an incredibly well-conceived, incredibly well-researched, remarkable piece of work. And I know there are going to be questions and different things and input, but thank you very much. I know this comes at a lot of effort, and I know all of you were made millionaires in your volunteer process here. So thank you very much for that. My question is, obviously, we're not going to get to some of the core issues in a 3-minute piece of input on a particular area. Some of the stuff, particularly around the Green and Bloomfield Congregational Church, we're talking about, or it looks like we're talking about merging a bunch of that land to work together. We're certainly willing to work together and try to make this the best possible scenario that can come up. In my comment part, I'll point out one area that we really need to, we definitely need to address. But my question is, what is the process if we really need to work through something to come up with a solution that we're going to do that? Because it's going to take more than a 3-minute comment to resolve it. And what's that process for interaction in these scenarios that we will go forward as this process develops?
Thank you, Pastor. So I just want to be sure I understand your question. You're asking what's the process the town will engage with the church, or just overall with the project?
Well, I'm specifically asking representing the church and myself as a resident of Bloomfield, but I'm sure the question also extends to other people's questions not related to the impact of the green and the church. Because what is that process beyond this 3 minutes that we can engage in dialogue to make something work, as opposed to us just saying, wow, this doesn't work, and you're saying, oh, it does, and we're taking the land anyway. Like, it can be a very cooperative process. And what's that process look like beyond just the comment period?
Okay, thank you. Hey, Don, you ready to respond?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
I want to thank the gentleman for his question. Remember, and I think maybe we took some liberties here in this design where we did possibly encroach into the church property. That is not to say we want to encroach or take church property, but to show kind of a cohesiveness now with the closing of Winterberry, of an interaction between both sides of the roads. That being said, as I said, this is a concept. It's conceptual, it's to inspire, it's to help move things forward to an actual feasible development plan. So my answer to the question most clearly is that there will be ample opportunities moving forward to participate and provide further input. And in this case, I would offer, for you to feel free to reach out to myself or any of the staff at Goldman York. And if things do start heading in a direction where more formal participation were needed, we would definitely establish an agenda item and have a open discussion with the commission and whatever parties were involved. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to the next question, please. Next questioner.
Next, we have Roger Bunker.
Mr. Bunker.
Thank you.
My name is Roger Bunker. I live at 28 Old Village Road here in Bloomfield. I've been a resident here for about 45 years. I am not as well informed as the pastor is, and I have just two specific questions. One relates to the church. My question is, how do you reconcile putting a parking lot where we currently have people buried? My second question is, I heard the comment that closing Wittenberry Avenue is going to help traffic. I've spent some Friday afternoons recently on the corner of Park and Bloomfield Avenue, and Park gets pretty busy. If you take the traffic off of Wittenberry and add it to Park, it gets even busier. So I don't see how closing off Wittenberry Avenue benefits the town, and I think it can substantially increases traffic patterns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bunker. We like the old timers. 45 years in Bloomfield. Thank you for your input. Don, the traffic flow that's being raised.
Yeah, we do recognize, and we have basically looked at, no engineering studies have been done at this point, but yes, more traffic from Winterberry, substantial portions of it will end up on Park Avenue. We do recognize that. But right now, the way the signalization is at Park and Tunxus Ave and Bloomfield Ave, and I believe it's Mountain Ave and Winterberry Ave, the signalization of those lights need to account for the multiple directions. It's not just a 4-directional intersection. So Winterberry has to be accounted for in the 4-way intersection at Park. That timing of those lights is one of the largest causes of traffic and delays at those intersections. So even though, yes, more traffic would result on Park Avenue from the closing of Winterberry, we are pretty confident that the functionality of that intersection will be much improved. And even though there may be more traffic coming out of Park, all directions through that intersection will flow better. Just very quickly on the church and the parking area. As I said, this was conceptual. It's designed to show a greater interaction between the church, across the street, and the expansion of the public space. By no means are we recommending the relocation. of grave sites. And I'm quite confident by the time we get to the final plan next week that the parking area will be eliminated on the church grounds. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, I would just want to re-emphasize what Don has been saying. This is conceptually, this is the concept of a plan. We need your input. You're very passionate, honest input, so that we will be able to finalize a plan that represent collectively the town's view of what the town center should look like. This is just the first step in developing the overall strategy. Lynn, very quickly, Commissioner Carrasquillo has a question.
Thanks, Commissioner Michelle. I just wanted to piggyback off of that and remember that when this is done, we want that traffic to stop in Bloomfield versus crossing through and out of Bloomfield. And that's why we're adding parking. That's why, we're closing some of the streets. We want our businesses to thrive, the ones that are here already and the ones that are coming. And that means the traffic needs to stop and park and spend money in our town. So ultimately, that's a part of the end goal here as well.
Thank you much. Lynn, next question, please.
Sure. Just a quick housekeeping note for folks in here. We have 2 overflow rooms. Next door, conference room 2, upstairs, conference room 5. You are welcome to sign up for a question or a comment, and we will wait for you to come back to the room to do so. So next up, we have an online question from Roman Levy.
Mr. Levy.
Mr. Levy, you just
Mr.
have
Levy,
to unmute.
Mr. Levy, we recognize you. Please unmute your mic and ask There we go. Thank you much, sir.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for this extensive revitalization of the center of Bloomfield, which I think will result in a benefit to the citizens and to the businesses. But the question I have is, there's no inclusion with regard to 3 shopping centers that are in the center of town. One where the CVS is, next door where Liberty Bank is, and across the street where there are a number of retail facilities. And there's no process here of connecting these centers into the center. They're an integral part of the Bloomfield Center. They're to a great degree the shopping center of Bloomfield right now. Okay, and I can tell you that all of those stores are occupied, and they're a vibrant part of the central business district, and they're excluded. I would think that you want to make that an integrated part of the center. And I would also think that you might want to think about eliminating Seneca. It really doesn't provide anything to go anywhere. But I would appreciate if there's some consideration with regard to integrating those 3 shopping centers, either walkway, facilitate the ability to move from one to the other, because the way it's set up right now, everybody has to get into a car basically to go from one center to another center, and they're really an integral part of what I would consider Bloomfield Main Street.
Mr. Levy, thank you much for your input. And those centers were not excluded during our conversation. The evolution of this plan, they're not excluded. And I'm sure Alongo has done to talk a little bit more about that. But during the evolution of the concept that's before us now, you are correct in that there was a lot of requests to create more walkable space in across the town center and to connect all those different shopping centers. So they were not excluded, but we're just focusing on the main area of the town that's most problematic for us. That's
Thank-
all. But
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and
yes.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes. So, but they're absolutely denied. So, but Don, can you talk a little bit more about the development of the connectivity across the entire town center? Don, you're still muted.
Sorry about that. The specific strategy for the town center overall conceptualizes multiple sites around the center and better integration and pedestrian movements and so forth throughout the center. We have looked at multiple times now, both back with the TIF plan and with this plan, at parking and the very thing that Mr. Levy said, like you have to park at one place and then drive on and park at the next place. We have looked at the idea of integrating parking, and there were prior recommendations in the 2020 TIF plan related to that are incorporated here. But most importantly, and I think what the chairman was kind of getting at, is vacancies or the extensive vacancy that exists within this area is what really kind of drove our focus of what area needs the most attention now. We had many designs that included actually Seneca and to the east side of Seneca and so forth. And at the end of the day, kind of size, scope, scale, we wanted to make sure that what was being done is manageable. So I believe we even had a sketching one time that kind of showed Seneca's phase 2. Even though it didn't make it into the final plan, the ideas, the concepts are still there. And as the chair said, we're focusing on this area first, and we will spread out over time once we have success here.
Thank you, Don. Lynn, any other questions, Lynn, for online?
Yes, Robert Dickinson.
Mr. Dickinson, please. Mr. Dickinson, you are muted. If you are talking, please unmute.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you much, sir.
Okay, I just didn't quite know the procedure here, but I guess I'm with it. Would the planned sidewalks in and around the area of redevelopment be wide enough to accommodate both pedestrians, bicycles, and even electric scooters coming from our retirement communities?
Great question, so we appreciate that. Don? Don, you're muted again. Thank you.
I'm going to stop muting myself. So anyways, yeah, we have conceptualized the pedestrian aspects of the center being much more pedestrian friendly. And within the plan, there is some imagery to provide kind of concepts for better designed sidewalks, pedestrian, bicycle, and as you said, scooter spaces. So we would anticipate a wider standard than what exists in the center today that would better accommodate either multiple pedestrians or so forth. I also want to make clear that we also conceptualize the East Coast greenway coming actually through the center and being a part of this development area. So that trail network being linked into the redevelopment here. So I can assure you that better pedestrian and other access will be provided.
Thank you very much. So Lynn, let's go back to in-person questions.
Next, we have Bob Berman.
My old friend, Mr. Berman.
Robert Berman, 8 Hiram Lane. Yeah, I saw your wife this morning. It's a golf meeting. So yeah, she told me you're out of town.
I've always been tracked
I
by
know.
everybody, so I'm good.
Okay. Couldn't resist. reviewing the whole plan, which took some time because it's a lot of pages. I found page 126 raised a lot of questions in my mind when I look at it. You mentioned that Jerome Avenue is going to be changed, so it loops around and comes in differently. And when I look at page 126, which seems to incorporate that, I'm not sure what street is what. And I think that that's part of the issues here, because those streets are marked on that. So trying to figure out exactly what we're talking about and what's going where is not easy. I understand why you're talking about dividing the center, and by the center, I'm talking about between Bloomfield Avenue and I'm going to say the railroad tracks. Dividing into entertainment center versus commercial center versus retail, et cetera, et cetera. I understand why you're grouping them the way you are. One of the things I didn't hear and I don't see is the opportunity for low and moderate income housing in the center of town. And I'd like to know, A, was that considered? And if so, how? And B, if not, why not? Because that's going to be crucial to show that this town is all inclusive of many different facets of the economy. So I hope you can answer that.
Bob, thank you much for that question, Bob. Yes, it was considered and discussed at length during one, at least one, if not two, of our meetings. And we're going to leave it up to when the developers respond to the RFP after the concept is finalized and the plan is developed. With your input and everyone else's input, we are going to put it out, and developers will come in with their suggested plans for us to consider. It was discussed, Bob, at length. And the answer to your question, we don't have a final response yet. We're gonna look at what the developers come back with, and we're gonna leave it as an option for the developers to when they submit their plans to us to address the strategy that we are laying out. We're going to see what they come up with. But it was a big part of our thought process. It came up a number of times from many of us on the commission. But Don, I don't know if you want to add anything else to what I just said.
Yeah, just very quickly, I agree with everything the chairman said. I put the map up here of the town center. It's a different map. It's the one I'm using for the presentation tonight. And as you will see, it has the roadways labeled on it. And Jerome here is actually blending in with the landscaping, so my apologies. I do recognize the map you pointed to on page 126 did not have the road labels on it, and we will make sure that's incorporated into the final plan when it goes for adoption to this committee. But Jerome Ave, essentially starting here at Park Ave, would continue north and then start making its way to the northwest here and exiting, which is approximately across from the Catholic Church property, where they kind of have that green out in front of it. So that is what the new orientation of Jerome would be, rather than continuing north from Seneca and exiting out right up near the railroad tracks up here.
So Don, Bob, I hope that answers your questions. There's still a little bit, we're still working through the process of low and to moderate income. Again, we are looking to the developers to come in with a strategy and how to incorporate that into the housing development. Remember, it's got to work for everyone financially for it to work. So that's where we are. Thank you, Bob, for that question. Lynn, any other question? And the other questions, please. For
Yes,
in person. Thank
we
you.
have a few more. Sherry Levine.
Ms. Levine.
My name is Sherry Levine and I live at 4 Nolan Drive. And I'd like to say that this is very impressive, all the work that's been done. But I have a question and it may be for the town council. I don't know. It's a financial question. Who's responsible for all this financial to pay for all this? I saw in the paper that the mayor said she put 4 million aside for the road reconstruction. Who pays the $7 million? And I don't know, our taxes have been pretty bad lately and we've been all hit. So I was just wondering if there's an answer for that, how that gets paid.
Thank you very much for that question. You right, that's a question for the town council to answer. But as you, as Don presented the financial paperwork earlier in his presentation, a good chunk of the cost is going to be borne by developers working with the town different in a variety of investments and financial financing opportunities for the town to work with developers as they come forward with their plan. But also, again, the town will have to invest some resources to make this work. And your comment earlier, that's more a question for the town council.
Next question is from Councilor Merritt.
Mr. Merritt, another old friend of mine.
Hi, Joe Merritt, 31 Woods Road. I have a question. I have several comments, but I'll get up again to ask comments, to mention them. My question is, and this is something that is very current and kind of urgent that we have answers to it because it involves this year's budget and the approval of it, hopefully. We have $4 million that we are setting aside, but we aren't really setting aside. It's going into a special reserve, so it's not coming out of current taxes or anything. It's just being designated as part of the fund. And I assume that is towards the 29, I gather because of what somebody else just asked, that's our bailiwick. I've been trying to explain to people on Facebook, which is an unfortunate place to do it, but it's the best we have, that this $4 million isn't really money that the taxpayers are having to come up with now. Maybe in 5 or 10 years it will be, but right now all it is seed money towards a fund so that hopefully we can get contributions, grants from the state and other people. But we need to start the fund and show that we have some skin in the game. So that's the intent of doing it. And that's as I understand it. But this is the starter towards the 29 million, I believe. And I guess that's something I should know, but I don't. And I'm embarrassed to be answering these questions without being sure about it because it's just something we're trying to set up to get approval so that we can say, yes, we have a fund and there's money in it. It's not something we plan to spend on nickel dime things. It's towards getting enough money so that we can follow through in 5 or 10 years with this whole program, and which is going to take some money. And it's seed money towards getting grants so that we can build it up closer to that 29 million that I think is the amount that you said is going to be needed. But I think does anybody have any contrary information that what I'm saying is untrue?
Joe, my understanding, Joe, is that these funds are coming out of reserves. They're not coming out of current or future tax dollars. They're coming out of
they're
reserves.
Staying in reserves.
Right, they're still in reserve. It's just being
The
put
designated
in
reserve, yeah.
a category set aside within the reserve fund.
Yep.
For this project.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my understanding as well.
Okay, so you answered my question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just another quick housekeeping note for folks coming in. There is an overflow room next door. If you do want to do comments or questions, you can sign up and then we'll call you in. And then next up with a question is Dr. Winston Campbell.
Mr. Campbell.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Winston Campbell. I live at 491 Simsbury Road in Bloomfield. I have two questions. One relates to a comment made in the conclusion section of the report on page 32. And it says that the Bloomfield's population along with the state and the region is aging, and the consumer spending of older households is less than that of younger households. Therefore, Bloomfield and the town center are not only confronted with shifts in the retail and commercial space market, but is also confronted with an aging population that will spend less at local businesses. So my first question, is that comment based on just an assumption of what older individuals will spend, or was a specific assessment done of what the aging population in Bloomfield will spend? I'm Asian and I'm retired, but I'm not morbid. And and my wife and I do like to do things, especially since we're empty nesters and don't have to worry about what we're going to do with the kids. The only thing we worry about now is what to do with our dog if we go out. I would like to spend money, and I would like to spend it in town. The second question that I have, and it may be in the report, I'm not sure, but in the Winterberry Mall, there is a movie theater complex that is now defunct. Is there a plan for this redevelopment to have such an activity? Because I think it's important. It's something that age groups, all age groups can utilize and will tend to keep people in town. I mean, right now, my wife and I, we either go to West Hartford to Sinopolis, or we go to Berlin, or we go to Plainville to watch a movie. And when we watch a movie, sometimes there is a dinner involved in that. And I think that would be an important component in this redevelopment.
Mr. Campbell, thank you very much for your input. I'm going to ask Don to respond to the question about the movie theater. That was part of our conversation as well, and there was a lot of discussion around that. That and other attractions, entertainment, to draw people into the town center. But yeah, Al done to also comment about the study on page 32 that you quoted. Don?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So first off, I'm not saying you're morbid by writing those words. In general, in the context of market research, and especially in the context of retail, there's just this recognition that at the end of the day, you know, a married couple with children in their 30s and 40s spend significantly more than empty nesters in their 60s plus. It's been something that's been demonstrated time and time again. The comment was more directed at the vacancies that the town is experiencing, especially in the context of the Winterberry Mall. That if you went back 4 decades ago or 3 decades ago, Bloomfield wasn't as old as it is today. And we looked at the median age or the average age of the community over time. So not only has retail changed and contracted, but the community has also aged over time, and that would be a contributing factor to the vacancies. That's in part why moving forward, it's conceptualized with less retail space, about a half to 2/3 of what's actually existing there today, to better right size it for the market overall. The question related to the theater then relates to kind of a bigger theme that I think we talked about within the plan. Was we talk about the experience economy, and people are looking for more than just simply going to a store and buying something today. They're looking for an experience, whether that be dining, whether that be outdoor dining, whether that be live entertainment, whether that be a theater, whether that be a bowling alley. They're looking to be engaged and active in what it is they do. So we conceptualize this as kind of being a hospitality, dining, entertainment district. That's why the interaction with the town green that could actually have performances and other activities going on. And we do conceptualize that hopefully the commercial space will have more than just a restaurant bent to it, but some other types of activity type spaces like a theater or so forth. That being said, we have to be realistic. The movie cinema market has changed drastically since the rise of VCRs and now, online and streaming. I can't guarantee that that will be something that's gonna be replaced there, but I can guarantee that through a development process, I believe the community will be looking very hard at more entertainment style venues within the center.
Thank you very much, Winston. I hope that answered your question. I just gave you some thoughts, some concept as to what the way forward may look like. Again, developers are going to come in with their strategies and plan and inform us what's the best fit based on the marketing data that they're looking at. So more to come on that. But again, as the process evolves, we will have many opportunities to participate in it as well. Thank you much. Lynn, any other questions?
Yes, next question is Lori Julian.
Ms. Julian.
Okay. Thank you very much for all the time and effort that's been put in these reports. I've been to about 3 meetings so far with the presentations, trying to get everything, see what's in here. And I also wanted to know, because I believe that there was a lot of work done to gauge the public's interest in what we who live here want to see our town be. And so I'm wondering how you're integrating that because I know you have to, or you have used a lot of studies and what have you, but it does come down to what the people that live in this town desire within feasibility. And I think everybody would agree the town center needs to be worked on. It needs to be vital and attract something that's going to attract people to come. And so my question is, what has been done so far to integrate? I know that we've had a lot of surveys, questions asked. I know we've completed a lot of them. So I'm wondering how that has all worked in. And yeah, well, that's my first question.
Sure. Then give some a general overview to respond to your question. Then I'll let Don to chime in. There are multiple layers of opportunities for the public to comment. First of all, our meetings, monthly meetings are in person, and virtual, and open to the public. And so we've had participants show up and ask questions, give us input during our meetings. And also we had a big meeting, I believe back in February or last year, where we in the community center on Park Ave by the junior high school, where we invited the public to come in, and that was well participated. A lot of input was given at that point in time. And obviously, we're doing one now. We also had a session at the SEM building with the high school for high school students to come in and participate. The plan that Don showed earlier, everything that has been input during our meetings from the commissioners, as well as the public meeting we had back at the community center. It has, all the input has been incorporated into the plan that you are seeing now. So what you're seeing now is a compilation of every input that we've got from the public, from the commissioners, and as well as the studies that Don and his team have looked at. So you're seeing a comprehensive um, plan with all the inputs from everyone involved. And tonight's discussion is also going to be very helpful to us as well. And that the input we get tonight we also be incorporated into the plan. So so that it'll be a comprehensive, complete plan from the with the town residents haven't had any input. Don, hey, please, if I miss anything, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah, let me just add a little bit to that. Thank you, Chair. One is I just want to direct everyone and the kind lady to Chapter 5 in the plan does provide a summary of the public participation and outreach that we did. I know the plan doesn't show specifically, it doesn't say like the public said this and we did this. But throughout the process, we've been listening to the comments. And one area that's kind of unresolved that I just want to put out there is kind of we as the consultants from a market standpoint, from a real estate standpoint, from a financial feasibility standpoint, have been pushing for as much housing as possible within this redevelopment area. That housing has the potential has the financial feasibility to work better than commercial. Also has the ability to kind of carry commercial, and then the symbiotic relationship between housing and commercial development, that they go together, that households are consumers for those businesses. And that's why actually in the plan let me say this. So then we've had a lot of pushback throughout this process from the public on housing, that there's a greater favoritism from the public that they want more commercial and maybe less housing, that there's a concern over the number of stories of buildings, that they don't want any building to be too tall, but without a building being tall, we can't put more housing in it. So that's why when you actually look at the plan, I believe we provide a number of budget scenarios that conceptualize a 3-story apartment building, a 4-story apartment building, a 5-story apartment building. That's still yet to be determined and won't be determined until after this initial planning process, when and if the town moves forward with this and starts negotiating with a developer, when zoning approvals come into the mix. But that is a way that the public has informed us. We've been listening to that, and we didn't come forward and just say 5 stories, 180 units. That's what has to be here. We have 120 units at 3 stories. We have 100 and I think 60 units at 4 stories, and so forth and so on, to accommodate those scenarios based on the feedback we're hearing.
Okay, thank you. Because I did attend the February meeting, I think it was in February, and there was, I recall, there was a lot of pushback with the apartments. And that leads me to my second question is, has there been any demand for apartments? And then since this is going to be probably not, I'm hearing not being, if even begun or completed in the next 10 years, I just think we have to be careful about how much we dedicate to apartments. And in addition, I'm a little confused because I came to the budget meeting the other night, and the whole idea was to offset commercial. We need more commercial. So I guess I'm feeling like this is not very well strategized, maybe planned for what we I don't know. This is, and I don't know how apartments are completely taxed, but I know it's not property payers, like property owners. And again, it was emphasized the other night during the budget presentation that we want more commercial. Anyways, so I guess I'm a little confused.
If I could just add quickly, one is the plan never says that this is a 10-year project. I don't know how long this is. What I can say is it's at least 3 years. it's probably 5 years to full completion. I don't think it goes out to 10 years. This plan is trying to strike a balance between residential and commercial. In the world of rental apartments, they are a commercial asset class. They are taxed more similar to commercial properties based on income than they are, say, on residential properties. So the plan is trying to strike a balance here between the two, recognizing that storefronts need households and recognizing that households need activities in storefronts. So it's really about trying to strike this balance and figure out what works. Now, there's always uncertainty in the marketplace. What we determine to be viable today in this plan may change a year from now or 2 years from now. We're not that certain moving forward, but we know we're in a good place of striking that balance at this point between commercial and residential within this development.
And I won't take up any more time. I just want to say, I mean, we have a lot of new apartments just built in the last couple of years. And I don't know if that has helped. I mean, we don't have something vital that they necessarily can go to. I mean, there's some disconnect, but that's more of a comment than a question, so I'll go sit down.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you much. Lynn, who do we have next?
So next up is Steven Zellman. And for folks coming in, there is an overflow room next door. You're welcome to sign up for a question or comment, and you can watch the meeting if you'd like to sit down next door.
I'd like to thank the commission and the
Mr. Zellman, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
I'd like to thank the commission and all its members and the professional members who worked on this. I live at 179 Oliver Way. My name is Steven Zellman. I've been in Bloomfield long enough to remember when the post office was across the street before the Beckensteins built the mall. And the garbage can outside said, "Keep our village clean." So we were a village back then. My question relates to the commercial uses within the proposal. And you'll forgive me if it's in the report, but I did my best high school effort by going to the summary first so I would know what was going on. Based upon current occupancy of the Winterberry Mall, your best effort for what would be the commercial usage within the footprint of this entire proposal?
Thank you.
Do we have the figures to compare?
Yes, we do. Don?
Yeah, the existing Winterberry and other buildings in that area, I believe, total around 120,000 square feet of space. The conceptual, the number we're using for the conceptual development is 65,000, but the plan talks of 65 to 85,000 square feet in commercial space moving forward.
Would the 120 be occupied and unoccupied space?
No, that's total space.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lynn, anyone online, Lynn?
No one online, but we have two more people in person.
Please, go ahead.
Next is Bonnie Berkowitz.
Ms. Berkowitz, another old friend of mine.
Oh, the DC friend there, James.
Yes, absolutely.
Bonnie Berkowitz, 492 Park Avenue. I'll just say I've been here 3 generations since 1909. Beat that one, but I know that Doug can. So anyway, that's always interesting. That always seems to be the way we start things out. But in any case, I was curious if there was ever any consideration of a microloan program specifically targeting residents who want to open up small businesses. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that my experience running the Copaco Shopping Center over the years, where we did have a lot of very small startups, was they were sort of like a young couple that wants to buy a house. Once they buy the house, they can afford the monthly payments. It's the down payment that they don't have. And my question just was if anyone had ever thought about that, if you've ever approached a bank, a $25,000 loan that perhaps is forgivable after 5 years if you're still solvent in business and paying your taxes?
Bonnie, thank you for that question. No, the answer to your question is no. That was not part of our thought process as we were focusing on the development of the town center and coming up with the budget for it. I think that that's a very interesting opportunity we have. Maybe this is something maybe your committee and this committee could get together and come up with a strategy around working with local banks, Bank of America, Webster Bank, NNT, see if they could come up with some set-aside program to help small businesses that are starting up. Yeah, we didn't consider that, but it's worth discussing going forward. Especially, we have a lot of young folks with great ideas who may want to rent space in the new environment, in the
And it will
new
also, I'm
structure.
sorry. It will
That's
also
right.
celebrate our diversity, James. That's the other
Absolutely.
part of it.
Absolutely.
I'm so convinced, again, from my experience, when you're a landlord, you really don't want an office. What you want is a retail space, because an office for 10 cents less will go somewhere else. A retailer will die on the spot rather than move where they are. They're extremely loyal to their space. They're extremely loyal to their town. They support the kids. They support the seniors. They're an invaluable piece of this. And I hope we do get a chance to have the two commissions talk about this in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Lynn, oh, we have one hand is up.
No, this is Councilor McCleary.
Yes.
I wanted to provide context to the last speaker. The town council do have an RFP that closed 2 weeks ago called Elevate Bloomfield. And the interviews, the program that she talks about is exactly what we're doing. And so we have a consultant that will be coming in once selected to work with small businesses. Just for full transparency, I think Gorman, New York did apply for that program, but the town council has been focused on exactly what she just did, providing renters assistance, providing access to capital, et cetera. So she can go out and talk to India Rogers or John Coleman, the economic development director, who could provide more insight on what the town council has put out there in our previous budget. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman McCleary, for that clarity. Hopefully, Ms. Berkowitz will follow up with the appropriate personnel that you just outlined. Thank you much. Lynn, I think you said we have one more question.
Yes, we have a few
Thank
people
you.
online now. Next in person is Ursula Dang.
Ms. Dang, I think also an old friend of mine. I don't mean old in age, just we go back. So we go back a couple of years. That's all.
Yeah, hello, James. It's
How
good
you
to
doing?
see you.
Likewise.
So I have a question about the overall planning. One of the things that, my name's Ursula Dang, by the way, 11 Penn Road. I wanted to ask about the parking. I noticed in the site plan, there's a lot of parking. We have a lot of parking in this whole town center right now, the way it is. If you look at Google Maps, town center looks like a giant parking lot. And I'm wondering if any consideration had been given to doing perhaps underground parking to minimize some of that parking around, and be able to maximize more of the green space available. If we had, like, especially under the residential buildings, underground parking or under the building parking. And also, in terms of connecting the town center to the amenities. We have so many beautiful amenities in this town. I mean, between Philly Park and our rec center and the greenway that's coming in and the new library, the different shopping centers, and really make, I didn't get a sense of how we're creating a walkable community from that site plan. So we have a lot of really great businesses, and I think that if if we make it as much of a green space as possible, we just put up several new apartment buildings. And one of the things is those apartment buildings, they come right up to the road and there's a lot of parking space. So there's a sidewalk and there's maybe a tiny little bit of green space around them. You know, and I just think it would be more pleasant if there was more green space around those buildings, less parking lot, and more connectivity from all of these great amenities and businesses that we have in our community that would attract people and make people want to come and linger and do their business and in town and visit restaurants and other businesses that are in the town center. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you much. Ursula, we have gotten a lot of input requests to have more connectivity across the entire town center. So that is part of the strategy. So I'll ask Don to put some more context on that. Don?
Yeah, I just shared my screen to put this up here just so I can point a little bit with my cursor if you want to look at the screen next to you. One is, just so you know, it's not that obvious, but these two residential buildings out here at front actually have parking designed under them. That's been in the concept since the beginning. We did have a concept with parking under this structure. And I'm not saying it's gone, we just didn't include it here at this point in time. Another key point I want to, and it could be swapped out for other parking. That's my point in saying that there was a concept with it under the building. Going down is more expensive than going up. So going underground always becomes more costly. So that was a concern with putting it under this building. But what I want to point out is we've spec'd out approximately 850 spaces on this entire site. That is an ultimate max number. We wanted to make sure we could accommodate enough parking to accommodate enough development that's going to make this worthwhile. That being said, I don't envision a future with 850 parking spaces on this site. I think the number is more like 650. So that means there can be a reduction. Who knows? Maybe the end is this parking deck goes away and it's underground parking under this building, opening up more green space and so forth. There was a lot of time and effort and thought by our designer put into the landscaping capabilities and pedestrian friendliness. So this central row here, kind of starting at opposite the town hall entranceway into here, is kind of conceptualized as this grand boulevard that would be tree lined with wide sidewalks, well landscaped and, pedestrian friendly. We did try as much as possible to work in green space wherever possible. The expansion of the green actually approximately doubles in its size, creating a larger green space, ultimately creating a green that's capable of hosting larger activities and so forth. So all those ideas were incorporated here. All those ideas, I believe, will live on throughout this process, and we'll ultimately have to work hard at the final design of whatever is going to get built here to make sure that's incorporated.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So Lynn, I'm going to say we had a couple online questions.
Yes, next online is Suzette DeBethan Brown.
Good evening.
Ms.
Thank you so
Brown.
very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for participating this evening. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you to the commission. Just a couple questions, and I'm just going to try to rapid fire them. Thank you for all the time and attention that you've put into this project so far. I've heard throughout the presentation that you're refining it, you're still making additions to it, things like that. Will there be another public hearing once this plan is refined? And I do realize that there's probably going to be a lot of iterations of the plan before we come up to what the center is going to look like. So I just wanted to know if there was going to be another public hearing. Another question is, will we acquire land and change road layouts before we have uh, a developer on board? That's the second question. The third question is, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? How are we going to move through from this concept to a renewed town center? Thank you very much for your time
Thank
and
you much.
answering.
Thank you much. I think let me take a quick first crack at it. Yeah, the public will have more opportunities to comment on the plan. So again, I can't tell you exactly when, but they will have more time to have more input into the plan. But we need to finalize a plan tonight to move the process forward. Then there'll be opportunities at TPZ and other opportunities for the public to comment, have input on the plan as it evolves, as well as the developers when they put their concept together and go to TPZ. So there'll be opportunities to comment. The other question, the chicken or the egg, what comes first? And that's probably a question for the council, not for us. And will there be we will be acquiring public space? The answer is yes. Don, I don't know if I was wrong in any of my responses. Do you want to comment?
Yeah, let me just kind of elaborate on some of what you said. From a process standpoint, I think the most important thing that you said is the need for us to, we need to get a plan adopted in order to allow both the council and the Town Center Economic Development Committee under Chapter 132 to actually proceed with other aspects of this. So this plan, once again, as I said, is conceptual. It meets the requirements that the state has set forth for us to actually adopt a plan. It provides very strong kind of framework and guidance to the stakeholders moving forward through this process. But the process as conceptualized right now is this is the main public hearing tonight for adoption. The committee, the Town Center Economic Development Commission, will meet next Tuesday night. It's a public meeting. It's not a public hearing, to consider the final revisions that will come out of tonight's hearing and to hopefully adopt the plan. At that point, the plan is forwarded to the Bloomfield Town Council. I believe it will go to a committee first, and then be forwarded on to the entire council. That will play out over the next, I'd say, 3 weeks to a month. Once the plan is adopted by the council, we have to forward it to the State Department of Economic Development for their sign off. And once everything is approved and in place, then the Town Center Economic Development Commission can start working on certain aspects of this. The first would be property acquisition, let's say. So that becomes the first step or the first phase, negotiations with property owners for acquisition. If acquisition is achieved, the town would then probably engage in some formal engineering, the relocation of a road like Jerome, the infrastructure associated with it, and so forth. Then during that period of kind of looking at engineering, they'd probably be going out to an RFP to retain a developer, and so forth. So these things, I don't want them to be viewed as staggered or linear. They are going to be overlapping. So it's not a chicken and an egg. It's kind of, scrambled eggs with some chicken on the side. In that at the end of the day, multiple things have to occur. Some are linear, some aren't. And throughout each step of the way, there will be opportunities for public participation at both this committee, the Town Center Economic Development Commission, also at the Town Council.
And possibly TPZ as well, right, Don?
Correct, and TPZ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Lynn, any other questions online?
Yeah, we have one last question
Yes,
from
please.
Donna Winnock.
Okay, please.
Very much. As everyone has said, I appreciate all the work that's been done on this. It shows. My question, if I can articulate it properly, is about moving from a conceptual plan into some very specifics. And by that, I mean, I was struck by the question around, I'll just call it affordable housing, and the response being, we have to determine what the developers want to do. And then I was struck by Bonnie's question about, have you considered? So it seems to me that there are some potential things in the eventual, not design, but the eventual implementation that are, for me, still up in the air questions. Who makes some of those decisions? In other words, is there a way that we go out to developers and say, we want X% affordable housing, and then we see who wants to make bids? Explain to me how this works, because I honestly don't know.
Don, let me very quickly, when we did RFP for developers, we could ask them to incorporate a percentage of affordable housing as part of the project. Yes, that can happen. All
Okay.
right, so that's that. And then as far as the microloans to small businesses to develop and grow in Bloomfield, and I believe Councilman McCleary addressed that already.
Okay. So from my perspective, I guess, I'm interested, and I guess this isn't a question, but I'll say it because it's quick. Those are the kinds of additional input I would guess that the people in Bloomfield will want to have some opportunity to share opinions on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair,
yes,
can I
yes, please.
Can I
go ahead.
elaborate on her first question? The TPZ,
Absolutely.
the TPZ, whatever development happens in Bloomfield will have to follow our TPZ regulations. And currently the TPZ is waiting for remarks from CROG on our inclusionary zoning, which currently calls for 13% of affordable housing in Bloomfield. So any development that goes up, if that ordinance is passed, will have to include 13% affordable housing. That is 3% higher than what the state mandates through 830G. And so, Donna, if you want to continue to pay attention into the TPZ, I know the TPZ has some things to make sure that affordable housing is included in future development in Bloomfield. I think that will answer your question as to who's to determine the affordable housing requirements for the town center.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman McCleary. So, Lynn, if there are no further questions, then we can move on to the comment part of this public hearing, if there are any. Are there any public comments?
There are. First up, Pastor Sean Fisher.
Pastor, please.
Thank you, Sean Fisher, 635 Bloomfield Avenue in the pastor of Bloomfield Congregational Church. Two comments. One, way before I ever became a pastor, I had a 20-year career in commercial real estate development. I've been to dozens of meetings like this. This is by far the most civil, professional one that I have ever attended that had anything at scale and at stake like this. So I just want to thank everybody involved. I mean, everybody who is here, the questions have been right on point, but not angry, which is new for the country right now. So thank you for being a model for that. I think it's just really, really wonderful. And thank you for everybody here, in chair and, Don, you've done a great job with the focus groups and the different things along the way as well. So thank you very much. Second comment, is it possible to bring that page 5 up again from that you've been using that has the street names and everything on it? Because I just want to point out one specific thing, if that's possible to bring up again. It's come up a few times.
Yeah, just give me a moment to find
Yeah, no,
it.
take your time.
And Pastor, I just want to reiterate that this is a concept.
Oh, yeah, no, this is,
obviously, it's a work in progress.
I am
Yeah.
not about to change the tenor and get all angry on you. That's not.
No. I'm
that's
not
not
implying.
the idea.
No, I'm not implying that at all.
No, I've heard that, and I just want, since you're then taking these inputs and then having
Absolutely.
another meeting on the 6th where it moves forward, I just want to give the very specific areas so you have that ability to know what some of us are talking about, so that for the 6th it can be gone.
Okay.
And if not, that we can be part of a dialogue for that. And hopefully people can see this either in the room or outside of the room, but right by this rotary right here, there are about 25 or so parking spaces right there. Right underneath those 25 parking spaces are the remains of about 75 people. And there are other things that are going on there. We, as a church, are very willing to work with the town to make this a dynamic thing. I think everybody knows Bloomfield Congregational Church is a community partner, and we'll do a lot of things with that. That is a bright red line for us. That is a bright red line for us. And so I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just want to be clear, because I think clarity is helpful in these situations. And so my comment is a request that for the next iteration, that not be in the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you much. We will take down the advisement, strong advisement. Thank you very much. We don't want to disturb any people who are resting peacefully. Thank you very much for that clarity. Appreciate the input. Lynn, any other?
Yes, next, Roger Bunker.
Mr.
I
Bunker.
have and these are comments, these are not questions, so I'm not
Yes.
going to sit and take time for an answer. I've heard a lot about the future. I haven't heard a lot about the history of how the center got to where it is and what we've learned from it, good and bad. And I'm hoping that was taken under consideration. A specific thing that did come to mind is we have recently built a number of housing units near the center of town. And the theory was that they were supposed to improve and help our commercial business. I don't know whether that happened or not. It doesn't sound like it did. But I'm hoping we're looking at the past and learning something from it. And then looking a little bit to the future, it was mentioned that there was an interview or a meeting with high school kids. And I'm hoping that maybe somewhere we can find out what the input was from the kids, because they are the future. And as we get older and don't spend as much, they're going to have to be the ones that spend it. And then my final comment, which is really not germane to the center, but if you're going to come to the center of Bloomfield and you pass through all these streets that are heavily littered, that's not going to make the center of Bloomfield a magnet for you. Thank you.
A couple quick comments. The part of our thought process, we did look at what happened, how we got to where we are today. That was one of the first conversations we had as a commission in the working with our consultant. The two things I will share with you is that we built a building back in the 60s or 70s. That is the Winterberry Mall. That was designed for the time that they were in back then. So the building is currently obsolete. So going forward, we will design structures that will be able to grow with our ever-changing marketplace. That's one. The other one also, how we got to where we are today, is the inaction over the last 2 decades on part of the town. And we are addressing that tonight and then going forward. So I hope that answers those two part of your questions. I mean, comments rather.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next in the room, we have Mike Voss.
Mr. Boss.
Well, I guess my handwriting is pretty bad. I'm Mike Fuss.
Oh, my apologies.
I am at-
Mr. Foss, you stand corrected. Mr. Foss.
I live at 10 Hampton Lane in Bloomfield. I am the chairperson of the Memorial Garden Committee at the Bloomfield Congregational Church, and it's already been mentioned, my main concern that there's a parking spaces over the Memorial Garden. It's good to hear that it sounds like they will be removed quickly. I did want to mention that most people did not know this is a concept plan. So when I brought this up at the committee meeting, there was a lot of angst. I'm glad to hear that things are going to be a little different. My other concern was the roundabout. And I understand it's a concept. Where it's placed there now looks like it's very close to the church building, and I consider that to be a very serious problem. Could be pedestrian car problems, or where it's placed looks like it's about 6 or 8 feet from where the main gas line is. So I don't think that's a good thing to have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the input and comment. Obviously, we will take them under advisement. Thank you. Lynn, anyone else?
Yes, next is George McGregor.
Mr. McGregor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is a really good plan. My name is George McGregor. I reside at 9 Stonehill Road here in Bloomfield. I'm also the Planning and Community Development Director for our neighboring town, the town of Simsbury. I have been a planner for over 30 years, and I'm a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. Of course, tonight I don't speak on behalf of Simsbury. I speak on my own behalf. In my career, I don't often get a lot of opportunity to be an advocate for something because I have to be reasoned and responsible, like Mr. Coleman and other staff members. But tonight I rise as an advocate for this plan. The draft plan provides this community with a consensus-driven planning document, which combines what I think is visionary creativity combined with market realities. It offers the promise of a robust and thriving town center with new residential housing opportunities and the potential for the redevelopment of our struggling commercial properties. The plan asks us to imagine redeveloped properties, redesigned streets, and an expanded public realm in town square. The draft plan, in my opinion, is an extraordinary plan of action with strong recommendations that are achievable, actionable, and implementable. But I would ask you to consider a couple of items. I would ask you to support new residential development housing opportunities for all levels and for all incomes and for all people. Do not be afraid of a little density and a little height. Instead, focus on good design, modern design, and how those individual buildings relate to public spaces and the street. Let the marketplace consider whether 3 stories make sense or 4 stories make sense. The housing opportunity for all really is the critical factor, and adding units in our downtown will continue to help it be vibrant. The commercial does not come without the residential. I would ask you to support further down the line the removal of development barriers in the town center. Things like removing or reducing parking minimums, eliminating unnecessary special exception and special permit public hearing processes. There does appear to be a lot of parking, and so please prioritize building an orientation as it orients to the street and hide the parking where necessary. Find the consensus in the uses we want and the zoning framework that works, and the architectural flavors we prefer, and then enable a clear and consistent process to allow for an expedited redevelopment process. Support the acquisition of the most critical development parcels. And there's no more important action than acquiring, I got 10 seconds, through whatever means necessary, the Wintonberry Mall parcel. Bloomfield Town Center is perhaps the most underrated and undervalued opportunity, I think, in the entire Hartford region. I submit to you that the redevelopment of the town center is the singular challenge for this generation, for our generation, for us, for our planners, our elected officials, and our citizens. It is the single issue that will define the success of this community, I think, for the decades to come. This plan lays the groundwork for that. This is a good plan. It's a good plan. Its contributors, its sponsors, its authors should all be congratulated. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your supportive words. Lynn, who else, Lynn?
Next online, Robert Dickinson.
Mr. Dickinson.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my comment is that the East Coast Greenway may be going through town before this development is finalized. And I suggest that provisions be made to route the Greenway through town in such a way that it'll be integrated with this development, so that the possibly having the trail go around this development or through it in such a way that it will still leave opportunities to vary the design of the development.
Thank you much. We will take that under consideration. Thank you much.
Next
Lynn,
up,
who else? Go
next
ahead,
up, Councilor Merritt.
Mr. Merritt.
Joe Merritt, 31 Woods Road. Following up on that comment, I have an obsession, as many of you may know, on the East Coast Greenway. And it is the planning right now, and it, like everything else, is flexible. But we're expecting it to come in from the north, next to the Congregational Church, not too close. And hopefully that Tunxus will be narrowed over away from it when we get rid of that Wintonberry access, and that the bike path will go right to up to the corner of Park and left right in front. It'd be 10-foot wide bike path if we can fit it in, and I think we will. That's what the standard is for the East Coast Greenway. And it will go right in front of, along Park Avenue, right in front of everything, and on to the high school. And that section, by the way, from the center of town to the high school is going to be the first thing done. So we see that in the next year or so. But I'm excited about the East Coast Greenway being part of this, because it will, you have people through biking from Key West to Maine or Canada. And so it would be kind of exciting to be on it. And they will stop and shop. Maybe we can even put a little hotel somewhere for them. This is going to be a new economy kind of thing in the next 10, 15 years. So it's something to think about. It will become an economic development thing in itself. It has proven to be, bike paths have been proven to be that other places, like, for example, Simsbury. So I thought I'd mention that first, because that's the thing closest to my heart. I'm a little bit concerned about the council taking this all over. And I would like to remark that this is a flexible plan, and it will be flexible beyond the adoption of the plan. It's not something written in stone. So there will be discussion, decisions on everything as we go. And I'm just catching up on the reading and very concerned about how this goes. on that intersection, we're hoping that by blocking off the end of Wittenberry and allowing the bike path to go right in front of that blocking, that the state will approve. They are looking at it now, a roundabout right between Park and you're shaking your head about the parking. I'm sorry. I've heard that they are considering it again. And that we wanted to tell them, and they were just told recently that we're planning to block that off so that they will go with a roundabout, which is they're looking at. The roundabout has the advantage of being safer, cheaper, allowing more traffic to go through town than the lights, and it's much better for pedestrians and for safer for pedestrians and bikers. Beyond that,
Joe,
I have.
Joe, I think we are approaching beyond 3 minutes at this point. But go ahead, finish your thought.
I was just going to say I am partial to Bloomfield Center being a village rather than a urban center. So that I kind of prefer the three-story high buildings to the six-story high. And that I hope we can not get too obsessed with overdevelopment. Thank you.
Thank you much, Joe. And then?
Next is Karen Sprout.
Ms. Sprout?
Hi, good evening, and thank you. My name is Karen Sprout. I live at 35 Philly Street and have lived in town for 39 years. I'm old enough to remember Peterson's, and I think I was at West Hartford Peterson's the other day, and I think it was probably one of the saddest days we ever had when we lost Peterson's. So that type of place, I would hope that all of our plans here would encourage gathering places such as that. The mention of apartments, we have a lot. I wanted to say I wasn't interested in a lot more, but I heard what I think it was Mr. McGregor just said, and I was quite interested in and resonate with that. He obviously knows what he's talking about. But we need the commercial to go with it, but if that comes first, great, but it hasn't appeared to do so as yet. When I talk to the young people I happen to know in the apartments that are there, they say, oh, we go to West Hartford for a good time. So that's kind of currently the way things are. And relative to Wittenberry Mall, likewise, I can remember when that was thriving. Yes, a place for another time, built for another time. But I just happened to read, we will probably, I can't imagine that we will retain even what we have relative to active development there. The gentleman at Pastisseria has pretty much had it with leaky ceilings and everything else that's going on. God bless him for hanging in there. But I would hope this plan will take some time to reach fruition. I would hope that we can do something about the disastrous conditions in that place now. I don't get it, why we have to put up with that and risk losing everything, that wonderful little place that's, that remains. I don't know much about Carbone's. I don't frequent that place, but I have frequented Pastisseria's, made just about every birthday party we've had in town for the past 15 years. Fantastic. So why we have to wait, I don't understand. Relative to the mall, I don't see demolishing it as necessarily great, so I'm hoping we keep some of it because I can't help but think, fixed up, that inner courtyard, West Hartford would kill for that. Think of that parking out in front. Trying to park in West Hartford is a freaking nightmare. We have the parking, and we have that magnificent courtyard for outdoor dining, which everybody wants. If it were cleaned up and weren't full of trash cans, it could be landscaped and used. All during the pandemic, I thought we could have made a killing if we had outdoor dining in that courtyard. It's magnificent. It has tremendous potential, and I wanted to just reinforce that over the years that I have observed, that we have tremendous potential, and hearing that gentleman from Simsbury compliment us on the plan is very, very exciting, and the other comments have been constructive and very, very positive to hear. I don't know if I'll live long enough to see some of this come to place. As I mentioned, I've lived in town 39 years and have always been excited to live here and always thought that we have so much to offer and to develop and to capitalize on, and the spirit and the conviction is what we need. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments.
Next, next, Dr. Winston Campbell.
Lynn, Mr. Campbell.
I think he might have left.
Yeah, okay.
Next is Sydney Schulman.
Mayor Schulman.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sid Shulman. I'm at 8 High Ledge Road in Bloomfield. And first of all, I want to say I was very impressed with the study that was done. I think it brings a huge amount of facts. Of course, it should. It's 180 pages long. I managed to squiggle through a number of those pages. I have a proposal, a suggestion, a strategy, if you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. But in order to present it, what I'd like to do is just go through some of the things that are set forth already, excuse me, in the 180-page proposal. First of all, on page 43, talks about the Winterberry Mall. And in various places in the proposal, Winterberry Mall has a very large presence. And if you look at the screen that was presented to us, it looks like 2/3 or 3/4 of the proposed area is Winterberry Mall. So obviously, what would you say would be the most important part of the proposal? And also, I would point out that there was a recent article, I think in the Hartford Courant, about some of the problems in Winterberry Mall. I suspect that most of you have read it. Now, on page 73, it encourages multifamily housing residences development in that proposal. And that, I think, speaks to one of the gentlemen who was very much in favor of housing. And I agree also. You know, in every era, there's something that is the go-to kind of proposal. Many, many 100 years ago, it was the strip mall. Then it was some other kind of thing. And these days, if you look at the around the area, it's to take the malls and change them exactly the way the proposal suggests, with a mixture of knocking down some of the building, putting up residential building, entertainment, and commercial. And I would note that Goldman, New York, as a matter of fact, I think is working with East Hartford, Connecticut, about the same kind of thing, the same kind of proposal in the disused mall in East Hartford, and also up in Enfield, where the mall is dying. So on page 75 of the proposal, it says, it talks about acquiring land and demolishing buildings, which of course has to be done if you're going to go forward with this proposal. And it talks about the property as it sits now being functionally obsolete commercial property. And I think if most of us have been over to Winterberry Mall lately, I think we probably agree. On page 77, it talks about the need for private partnerships and incentives. Private partnerships and incentives. Well, of course, the town is not going to do it all itself. Now, what incentives are they talking about? Is an incentive enough to simply say, we're going to get this property for you? No. And therefore, we get to talk in page 78 about tax abatements. We used to do that in town. We used to give tax abatements in order to spur economic development. As a matter of fact, I think, if I'm correct, and perhaps Mr. Coleman can correct me if I'm wrong, the last abatements, I think, ran out in 2022 or 2023. And what happens with the tax abatement? Well, you give the developer a break on taxes. So you say, oh, gee, we're losing money. No. When we did tax abatements, the property got this amount of money for taxes. We gave the abatement so that when the abatement ran out, we get this amount of money for taxes. But one thing the town manager at that point insisted upon, he never gave one penny of tax abatement for all the personality within the building and the vehicles associated with the entity. So therefore, we were getting all that money and not a penny was lost to tax abatement. So therefore, we wound up getting more money for the property that we were giving this break to the developer for, and they got a whole bunch more money when the abatement ran out. And let's be practical, folks. You know, developers are not going to just come in and say, oh, gee, we really feel for Bloomfield, so we're going to develop this property. They want to make money off of it.
Mr. Truman, I just want to remind you, you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3
Okay.
minutes is
I'll
passed.
try to skip some of what I have.
Well, no, I'm
because
saying the 3
unfortunately,
minutes have
I
elapsed.
have this.
The 3 minutes have elapsed, and we have other folks who may
I'll
want to
get
speak.
to the heart of the matter. A private market can't change Wittenberry Mall. The first thing I think that we have to do, and we can do this while we're doing the process as explained by the commissioner, we can get appraisals of the property, so we know what we're talking about. Right now, we don't know. I will tell you that I believe the owner of Wittenberry Mall paid $5 million. I also think that I don't know that we necessarily have to wait for that entire process to play out before we start having meetings with mall owners. In my day, we used to have meetings with mall owners periodically. We used to go around to the businesses. And I don't see why we can't do some of that right away. Now, I suspect, well, I don't suspect, I know that the mall owner of Wittenberry Mall has not been, let's say it, very receptive to our discussions. So why not sit down with him and find out where he's at now? We don't have to make any commitments. We don't have to make any deals now, but we can sound them out now, and I suspect it would take a longer time to deal with them. The odds are we may not come to an agreement, and that's critical. And you can't, this whole thing is very nice, but it can't move forward unless something is done with the Wittenberry Mall. And so the last resort, according to another page on here that I read, is to take it by condemnation, eminent domain. Well, you know, I had a talk with somebody on council a couple of years ago who said that the council was considering that a couple of years ago. And I said, okay, but one of the rules, as I understand it, and I'm not a lawyer for eminent domain, but my understanding is you have to put into court the amount of money you're saying that you will give for the eminent domain. Then you fairly immediately take the property and can go do something with the property. And then you go fight about money.
Mr. Mayor.
So
Mr.
I
Mayor,
suggest we
Mr.
take the
Mayor.
$4 million and put it toward eminent domain.
Mr.
And I
Mayor,
think
thank you for your comments, sir.
that
You've exceeded the 3 minutes.
sums up my comments and my proposal. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Next, we have Lori Julian.
Ms. Julian.
Just briefly, I would want to stress that any plan consider the uniqueness of Bloomfield and why people came here and why we choose to continue to live in Bloomfield. I think is its unique community feel. And I think it's been said at other meetings that we don't want to be a West Hartford. And I just fear that we're going in the direction of a lot of congestion, a lot of traffic, and particularly if we build up these apartments to 5 stories, it really, I believe, will take away from the unique feel of Bloomfield that I think people mentioned the village feel. And I think what will attract, I think we have to work on the vitality and what would attract people to come to this town, not just people that live here. And I'm thinking that we should also be considering what other towns are doing. We can perhaps look to places that you might like to go to. Northampton, Massachusetts is one of my favorite places. Let's look and see what it is about Northampton. I think it's great. The bike path will be huge, connecting that to the town. Collinsville, Connecticut, that with the bike path, and people come in droves there. It's always busy. So I think we can look at like best practices first before diving in, and then perhaps oh yes, like a Parkville market, a food market. People come and that seems to attract a lot of people. People love food, and I guess what I'm trying to stress too is, so let's keep the uniqueness. We do have to grow. I think we have to work on the vitality aspect more than the living component at this point. So I think I would have to sort of disagree with the about the apartments bringing in the activity, because I think it hasn't worked thus far. And so I guess that those would be my comments. And I guess if we have to have apartments, maybe we should look at having apartments and commercial activity all in like one little, like they used to do, like, yeah, years ago, and have both. Yes, yes, yes. So that in summary is what I would like you to consider.
Thank you very much for your comments and input. Thank you much.
Mr. Chair, we have 3 more folks signed up. I have received a request asking if people can do a second public comment.
No.
Okay. Next up is Bob Berman.
Robert Berman, 8 Hiram Lane. Don, would you bring up page 5 again? There's something I want to point out on that. While you're doing that, there are a couple of things I want to bring up. Number one, the discussion on elder spending. One of the reasons a lot of elder citizens in Bloomfield don't spend a lot of money in town is because there is not that many places to spend it. I will tell you this, when we eat at Solid Thai, quite often we see quite a few people from Doncaster there. So people are coming out and spending money in town where there are places to spend it. We have 3 restaurants that I would consider somewhat quality: Sally's, Carbone's, and Solid Thai. Ginza is now reopened, but that's it. That's not enough to sustain what people want. We need more than just pizza places and other fast food restaurants. And that's one of the things that's also needed. The reason I asked Don to bring up page 5 is I want to point out something that I don't think any of you are aware of. I'm also on the Library Building Committee. One of the things we are doing, and the state DOT has told us we have to pay for it, is there will be an entrance to the library right here, where Wittenberry now hits Tungus Avenue, right across from it. There's a light there now. We have to pay for the renovation of that and put striping in from Wittenberry Avenue over to show it going in. And the state's telling us probably no left turn from Tungus into that space. If you cut off Wittenberry back there and that light comes out, I'm not sure how people are ever going to be able to get in there. So that's something I would think you'll need to talk to the Library Building Committee about that issue. Second thing is low and moderate income housing. Some of you heard me say this before. Why haven't you talked to the Housing Authority? I would tell you this, and I'm going to be blunt about it. Town planning and zoning, economic development, and now this commission, nobody has asked the Housing Authority for input or for their thinking or what they're doing. I know that because I chair the Housing Authority. I have volunteered a couple times. I volunteered to make reports to council. I have yet to hear from them too. You want to deal with low and moderate income housing? Why don't you talk to the people who deal with it on a day-to-day basis? Find out what they know, find out what they see is the future, what is needed. We do have the information. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Next up is Steven Zellman.
Mr. Zellman.
Thank you again. I just want to give a little historic perspective. Prior to being the probate judge for 27 years in Bloomfield, I was on the Town Planning and Zoning Commission during the 80s. And there was a lot of discussion way back then about the Griffin Line and revitalization of the Griffin Line. And the main reason for the lack of interest by the state or any outside organization was the lack of density. And it was the density that was always required to maintain green spaces, but density within a packaged area. So that is the kind of thing that we're seeing now with regards to no longer emphasis on the Griffin Line, but now in order to have that retail, you have to have the density. Reference was made that we haven't seen the density. Well, I think if you look at the shopping centers that are just down Park Avenue, we already heard they're 100% occupied. Why is that? It's because they're clean, landlords take care of the properties. Tenants probably do not want to come to the Winterberry Mall if they know the roof is caving in. So let's put the blame where the blame belongs. It's not its location, it's upkeep and maintenance, and we need the quantity of quality housing in that area to support vibrant retail. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Oh, go ahead, ma'am.
Next, we have Dr. Matthew.
Dr. Matthew.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
I think I have some of my patients here. Also, he's right here. He's my patient. I bought this practice in the Winterberry Mall about 15 years ago, and there was a dentist before me. And it's been now 15 years, and I have seen the growth of this Winterberry Mall. We don't know where we are going next with this mall. We had a lot of patients who used to come daily, but now over time, that's dwindling down because of the quality of the Winterberry Mall. It's dark, not taken care of, and patients cannot even come in the evening. So where are we going from here? There were other doctors there, they moved out. So now there are only few practices there. I think so there's only 2 dentists in that building. And we are on the back side of that building. And no patients want to come here. Where are all these patients being gone? We don't know. So something has to be done to this Winterberry Mall. My lease is coming back in January with the Winterberry Mall. Where are we going? And nobody has talked to us. Nobody has come to us. And what is our future of this Winterberry Mall? What is the future of the local community? Where are the dentists going or the doctors going? Do you want doctors coming to this in this community? Yes, we have apartments. Where are the people in the apartments going to go? Are they going to go to West Hartford or other places? We need a medical community here as well. So I don't know where the thought process for this community, for the medical community. That's all my comment is.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matthew.
Mr.
Lynn,
Chair,
anyone else? Yes.
so there's no other folks to comment. We do have some written comments, just for the record.
Yes.
There's one from Capital Region Council of Governments. There's one from TPZ, and there is also one from the late David Mann. So just wanted to note those for the record.
Thank you very much. I'm going to invite my colleagues on the commission with me if they have any closing comments before we and this public hearing.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out and giving your opinions and sending in your opinions. It's been great to hear from people as this has been going through, participating in all of the surveys and the public outreach. A lot of that, as was talked about before, has been incorporated in here, but as noted, it's a 180-something page document. So it's a bit to get through to realize where those pieces are. But all of the comments, the information that Goldman and York had compiled from that was taken into consideration into getting to where we are here. But we've heard some new great things tonight, and I know that they've got lots of notes to make some adjustments before we meet again next week. But did want to thank everybody for coming out and giving your thoughts, and as Sean had said, in such a nice manner. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Lenny?
Nothing more to say.
Thank you very much. Casillo, are you still on?
I am, yeah.
Yes, please.
Echo her comments, but
Castillo.
thank everyone for coming out. Their investment, time-wise, reading the document, getting to understand it, asking their questions, super important for us. I say just understand that we are 100% in on making Bloomfield Town Center better. That's why we've invested our time. We are part of you all. We live in town. We are invested in this town, and we're not going to do anything halfway. We are focused on trying to get this done for our town, for our elderly community, for our high school students, for everyone who lives here and is invested in here as well. So thank you all.
I want to echo my colleagues in the commission with the comments they've made. I just want to express my deep appreciation to everyone that spoke. The passion that you have for the town center, the evolution of the town center, it has come through with all your comments and statements and your questions, very thoughtful questions, thoughtful comments. We've heard you. We're going to incorporate them into the plan going forward. I want to thank Gorman, York, and their team to get us to where we are today. And thank you, Don, and the entire team for everything that you've done, the public hearings, the surveys, hearing from me at least every month. I'm sure that was not pleasant for you, but thank you very much for everything you've done to get to where we are today. And by the town of Bloomfield, the folks who participated, you have been an enormous treasure for us in terms of your input, and so we could develop a plan that's going to capture the spirit of Bloomfield. So the inclusiveness, your participation has been very helpful to us. Thank you very much. And for those of you who commented and congratulated us on the work that we've done, I want to say thank you very much on behalf of my colleagues on the commission, and also the town staff, John Coleman and his team, who has been present for every meeting that we've had. And again, many more to come, but thus far, they've been a tremendous help to us and guidance and certainly counsel to me as I navigate through the town requirements. So thank you very much. With that, we look forward next Tuesday. We're going to have our next meeting to vote on the final plan to move it to the town council. Thank you very much. And Don has his hands up. Don?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I wanted to thank you for your leadership. Listening to you monthly has been great. You've made us better in what we do. I want to thank the whole committee, but the real reason why I raised my hand is I want to encourage members of the committee. If you have specific comments that you heard from the audience tonight that you want addressed and incorporated, please email them to Lynn as soon as possible, since we only have 6 days now to turn around any revisions to this document, and we will be getting to work on it tomorrow. So thank you guys, appreciate it, and back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Don, and you and the entire team. Once again, thank you very much. And everyone, thank you very much. Please go home and enjoy your family and have dinner. Thank you. Well, this concludes the public hearing.